the algorithms and all the machinery that happens inside Banksealer. What is this Banksealer? It's not working, this thing. All right, so Banksealer started in 2016 from research by Politecnico di Milano, sponsored by Secure Network, which is a security firm here in Italy that does basically penetration testing and security-related activities, and by Buildo, which I represent. This is an engineering company, and this is our office. And basically, they put, Secure Network put in the expertise and the guidance to the Politecnico di Milano, and the funds to the Politecnico di Milano, and they did all, Politecnico di Milano did all the research and stuff, and we engineered the whole thing so it can be actually deployed in real world environments. By the way, even if we are a startup, we started like 2 years ago, we're hiring, so if you will like this talk and you will want to know more about us and the thing we do, you can also drop your CV at this email and we will be super happy to interview you. So, what is this Banksealer? As you may guess, it has something to do with banks and with sealing the banks. So, we developed this kind of software that sits inside the banks. So it's actually installed and deployed within the bank network. And the goal of this thing is basically to detect frauds that happens in this complex scenario I will describe to you in a few seconds. And so the idea of Banksealer is to provide a tool to the operators in the bank in order to basically have a rank on all the transactions happening within the bank, and the idea is to by this rank is to basically filter out all the transactions that are normal in a way, so the operator doesn't have to spend his whole day by just looking around in all the transactions and do more meaningful stuff. The typical frauds that we see in banks has to do, of course, with phishing and credential stealing, database compromission, and those kind of things. But there are also, since the countermeasures are increasing in number and in complexity, also the attacks are increasing in complexity and number. So we also see like man-in-the-middle attacks with Trojan in the browser by the installation of, for example, Chrome extension. So just a few words on the market we are inserted in. The offer of products that are around in the market are has some kind of problems. Some of them are product-wise, so they usually have some monolithic structure and they are pretty complex to customize and to I would say insert in new environment, in brand new environment. There is a lot of excuse me the word bullshit around the word machine learning, because some people is claiming we do machine learning, but they do not have any background or evidence. We have at least some scientific publications supporting what we are doing. So at least the scientific community supported us at some point. And usually they have the problem I was describing before, so the high false positives ratio. So basically it has no value, a product that is just labeling the 50% of the transaction you have in the bank as suspicious, because this means that you need many thousand people just to look at your transaction every day. And price-wise, of course, we are a startup, so we cost less. No more complexity. Just high level again of what Banksealer can do in a bank. Basically, there is a first coarse-grained filter, so which is provided by static rules. This is pretty common and typical in anti-fraud product and bank products. Basically, we took a bunch of information, transaction logs, access logs, whatever, and we match them against a database. For example, saying, oh, right, this class of IPs or autonomous system is coming from East Europe, and we already know that this is just a bunch of hackers trying to steal credentials of our customers. So we just block them in advance. We don't even want to analyze them. On the second level, we have the core, meaning the real meat of Banksealer, which is the ranking algorithm I was describing to you before. This thing gives all the transaction entering the system a score, which is a numeric number, and the higher is this score, the more probable is that this transaction is going to be, let's say, a fraud. So it's going to be maybe automatically blocked by the banking operational system. Then we provide the interface to the operator. So this is real time, basically. Just give me the score of this transaction, block, do not block. If the transaction goes through, then the operator of the bank can open the Banksealer interface and check what's been going on in the what happened in the system with a common interface, with a nice interface. With this interface, if they mark something suspicious or like really they mark that as really a fraud, we have a sort of feedback loop where we gather information about the fingerprint of this malicious transaction, and we improve our model. This is at very high level what is happening inside the system. This is just a high level of the architecture of the thing. We basically have a core, which is the algorithm stuff, and we have, of course, input and output driver, because we are installing in several banks, and you don't know what's in there. Sometimes they have network traffic. We need to basically sniff network traffic. In other cases, we have CSVs. In other cases, we have I don't know, queues or other more sophisticated stuff. So we wanted to decouple what's like our product and what is basically integration with banks. And so yeah, the idea is to host this thing inside the bank and integrate the whole system within the bank infrastructure. And of course, we have a graphical interface for the ex-post phases, as we were saying before. This is just dummy screenshot with dummy data of what there is in Banksealer. This is highly customizable for the customers, and this is an example with some information for the bank to be PSD2 compliant. If you're in the bank, if you're in the banking industry, you may know something about it. And by the way, they have this number of high-risk transactions, so they can monitor that this number is not growing exponentially from 1 second to another. And here you have basically the whole history of the last week of the transaction, which are marked at risk and which are not, and other kind of useful information. Here instead you have the list we were talking about before, which is ranked by risk. So in theory, the operator just logs in and she has to look just at the topmost items of the list. So possibly if everything is working correctly, the operator will find in the topmost part all the most suspicious transaction. It has a breakdown of what is the cause, what caused this risk to be high. So for example, if the IBAN address of the receiver of the transaction is not common in the user pattern of transactions, this will be high. And in this sense, Banksealer is kind of explainable machine learning, because instead of having a black box system with deep neural networks that just give you 5, you can go in and understand what is actually going on inside the logic of the algorithm, with some extent, of course. And this is just the same information you were seeing pivoted by the same user. So this is the amount, for example, of a transaction. And you see that this is in blue, in dark blue, there is the typical distribution of the user expenses in clusters. And if the global distribution of all the users in the system. If this transaction falls like really far from the comfort zone, like 40K, this is going to be marked like as suspicious, of course. And I'm done with the introductory part. So if you have any question about like the high level thing, just ask me. If you have nerd questions, just ask Claudio, because I don't know shit about this.
Would you mind to show the slide regarding the business model, the second slide? Yes, that's it. Give me a sec.
Yep.
Okay.
He's a competitor, but
No, I'm not a competitor.
If you're a possible buyer, we have the commercial representative just right now.
Okay.
Just kidding.
No, I was interested when you scored in the detail about the different points, like the IBAN as a source of error.
Yep.
Are you relying on centrale risky or similar?
That would be for the statical part, for the static rules.
Yeah.
For what concerns the that thing you were looking at,
Yeah.
that's about the user typical behavior. So Claudio will explain in details this part, but that's a model.
Sort of a preferiti, you know. It normally does a transaction towards the following IBANs.
Exactly. So basically, it's the model.
So pattern per user.
Yes, it's the user profile.
User profile. Okay.
And the light blue one is the global profile, meaning all the users of all the customers of that specific banks. We don't have interbank information exchange for obvious reason for now, but that's something that can be done in the future with some serious anonymization and stuff. Claudio.
okay.
Any other question? Yep.
What is real time?
What is real time?
Yes.
The difference between ex post and real time is that real time means from the moment you click send money, from the moment you have okay, money sent.
Okay. And which is the time in which you are able to provide the risk?
It's milliseconds.
Milliseconds.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's the average. I think it's 24. Correct me if I'm wrong.
something.
It's about 24 milliseconds.
Okay.
So the model training takes more time, of course. But once we have the models, the computation of the score is pretty fast.